What if one of the oldest spiritual technologies was not hidden in a temple, not sealed inside a forbidden book, not buried beneath the sands of Egypt, but standing quietly outside your home, breathing beside you, waiting for you to remember? What if touching a tree was never just touching a tree? What if the ancients knew that the human body and the living world were connected through a current so subtle, so silent, that modern life trained you to stop feeling it? Today, we are entering one of the strangest and most overlooked practices connected to the Hermetic current of Thoth, the 90-day tree touching ritual. In this journey, we will uncover why trees were once seen as living bridges between earth and heaven, why the number 90 may represent a full cycle of energetic reconditioning, how the body responds when it returns to living contact with nature, and how this simple ritual may awaken intuition, calm the nervous system, deepen dreams, and reconnect you with the hidden architecture of reality. Welcome back, traveler, to the Enchanted Archive. Here, we do not simply study ancient knowledge. We listen for what was buried beneath it. And tonight, we open a quiet doorway into a forgotten practice that asks only one thing from you: to place your hand upon a living tree and remain still long enough to hear what the world has been trying to say. For most people, this will sound too simple, and that is exactly why it is powerful. Modern humanity has been trained to believe that power must be complicated, that transformation must come through machines, systems, chemicals, passwords, formulas, or institutions. We are taught that if something is ancient, natural, and free, then it cannot be important. But this was not how the old world thought. To the ancient mind, a tree was not decoration. It was not background scenery. It was not a piece of nature standing outside human civilization. A tree was a pillar, a witness, a memory keeper, a living connection between the unseen below and the luminous above. Its roots descended into darkness. Its trunk stood in the middle world. Its branches reached toward the sky, and this made the tree one of the oldest symbols of the human soul. The same pattern appears everywhere. The tree of life in Kabbalah, the world tree in Norse tradition, the sacred fig tree beneath which the Buddha awakened, the sycamore of ancient Egypt, the cosmic tree in shamanic traditions. Again and again, across cultures that never touched one another, the tree appears as a bridge between worlds. Why? Why did so many traditions look at the same silent being and see a map of reality? Because the tree expresses a law that the modern mind has forgotten. Life moves through connection. Nothing exists alone. The roots cannot live without the soil. The leaves cannot live without the sun. The trunk cannot stand without both. And the human being is no different. You were not designed to live sealed away from the living world. You were not designed to touch glass more than bark. You were not designed to hear notifications more than wind. You were not designed to walk under artificial light while forgetting the rhythm of dawn, dusk, moon, rain, and season. Something in you remembers this. That is why the body softens near trees. That is why the breath slows in forests. That is why the mind, after hours of anxiety, can become strangely quiet beneath branches. It is not imagination. It is not weakness. It is not childish sentiment. It is the nervous system recognizing an older rhythm, a rhythm it trusted before language. a rhythm it knew before the world became concrete. The ritual attributed in modern esoteric circles to the current of Thoth is deceptively simple. For 90 days, you choose one living tree. Every day, you return to it. You place your hand upon its bark. You breathe. You become still. You do not ask for miracles. You do not beg for visions. You do not perform for the universe. You simply reconnect. But hidden inside this simplicity is a deeper technology, because repetition is not repetition when consciousness is involved. Repetition becomes inscription. Every day, the body learns. Every day, the mind resists a little less. Every day, the boundary between me and the living world becomes softer. This is why 90 days matters. Not because the number is magic in a childish sense, but because 90 days is long enough to break the spell of modern disconnection. The first days are usually empty, and that emptiness is important. Most people expect the ritual to perform for them immediately. They touch the tree once and ask, "Why did nothing happen?" But that question reveals the problem. Modern consciousness has become transactional. We touch something and expect a result. We breathe once and expect peace. We meditate once and expect awakening. We pray once and expect the heavens to answer. But the ancient path does not work like that. The ancient path does not reward impatience. It reveals impatience. So, in the first stage of the ritual, the tree may seem silent. But the silence is not failure. The silence is diagnosis. It shows you how far you have drifted from subtle perception. It shows you how loud your mind has become. It shows you how difficult it is for you to simply stand before a living being without turning it into a tool, a goal, or an experience. This is the first teaching. Before the tree speaks, you must become quiet enough to listen. In Hermetic thought, the universe is not dead matter. It is mind. It is vibration. It is correspondence. Us above, so below. Us within, so without. This principle does not mean that everything is the same. It means that patterns echo across levels of reality. The structure of the tree echoes the structure of the soul. Roots correspond to the unconscious. The trunk corresponds to the embodied self. The branches correspond to the higher mind. The leaves correspond to perception. The fruit corresponds to action. And the seed corresponds to hidden potential. When you place your hand on a tree with awareness, you are not worshiping the tree. You are entering relationship with a symbol that is alive. That difference matters. A dead symbol can be studied. A living symbol can respond. Not always with words. Not always with visions. Sometimes the response is a calmer heartbeat. Sometimes it is a memory surfacing from childhood. Sometimes it is a dream becoming clearer. Sometimes it is a sudden awareness of how tired you are. Sometimes it is grief. Sometimes it is relief. Sometimes it is nothing at all, until one day, without warning, the world feels less separate. This is why the ritual is dangerous to the modern identity. Not physically dangerous, but psychologically dangerous to the illusion of separation. Because the more you practice living contact, the harder it becomes to believe that you are merely a mind trapped inside a body walking through a dead mechanical universe. You begin to feel that reality is participatory. You begin to notice that attention changes experience. You begin to understand why the ancients treated nature not as scenery, but as scripture. The first 30 days are the stage of resistance. This is where most people quit. Your mind will say it is pointless. It will say you look foolish. It will say you are wasting time. It will say nothing is happening. But beneath those thoughts, something is happening. Your body is learning to stop. And for many people, stopping is the first real initiation. Because when you stop, you begin to feel what your distractions were covering. Your nervous system begins to reveal its tension. Your breathing exposes its shallowness. Your thoughts reveal their repetition. You may notice how often you live ahead of yourself, always in tomorrow, always in planning, always in fear. The tree does not follow you there. The tree only exists here. So every day, when you return, it pulls you back into the present, not by force, by example. This is the first medicine of the ritual. Presence. From day 30 to day 60, the second stage begins. This is the stage of attunement. The ritual stops feeling like an action and begins to feel like a meeting. You may start noticing small details. The texture of the bark, the temperature beneath your palm, the way the wind changes the sound of the leaves, the way your mood shifts before and after the practice, the way certain thoughts appear only when you become still. This is where many people begin to experience subtle synchronicities, not because the tree is granting wishes, not because reality suddenly became magical, but because your attention is becoming refined. You are no longer moving through the world as a closed system. You are listening, and listening changes what can be heard. In esoteric traditions, attention is not passive. Attention is a current. Where attention goes, energy gathers. This is why distracted people feel fragmented. Their energy is scattered across screens, fears, desires, unfinished conversations, imagined futures, and unresolved memories. But when attention returns to one living point every day, it begins to collect itself. This collection of attention is the beginning of power, not power over others, power over dispersion, power over inner chaos, power over the constant leaking of life force. This is why the tree touching ritual is not really about the tree. It is about teaching your scattered energy how to return to one point. The tree becomes the anchor. The breath becomes the bridge. The hand becomes the seal. The body becomes the temple. And the moment becomes the doorway. From day 60 to day 90, the third stage begins. This is the stage of integration. By now, if the ritual has been practiced sincerely, something subtle may change in the way you move through the world. You may feel more grounded, less reactive, more sensitive to spaces, people, and emotions. You may begin to notice which environments drain you and which ones restore you. You may feel a deeper respect for silence. Dreams may become more symbolic. Intuition may become less dramatic, but more precise. This is important. True intuition does not always shout. Often, it arrives as a quiet knowing, a small contraction in the body, a softness in the chest, a sudden clarity, a feeling of not this or wait, or go there. Modern people often miss intuition because they expect it to arrive like thunder. But ancient intuition is more like root growth, silent, slow, certain. This is what the tree teaches. A tree does not rush to become itself. It does not compare its branches. It does not apologize for needing seasons. It does not bloom out of anxiety. It grows by alignment. Root first, then trunk, then branch, then leaf, then fruit. And this order matters because many seekers want fruit without roots. They want visions without discipline. They want awakening without stillness. They want signs without listening. They want transformation without changing the rhythm of their daily life. The 90-day ritual corrects this. It says, return again, 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 not because the universe is withholding wisdom from you, but because your own system must become stable enough to receive it. This is where Thoth enters the symbolic frame. Thoth, in the Hermetic imagination, is not merely a deity of writing or wisdom. He is the keeper of measure, the scribe of hidden law, the intelligence that records the pattern beneath appearances. To work with a Thothic current is to seek the architecture behind experience, not superstition, pattern, not fantasy, correspondence, not blind belief, disciplined perception. So, if we speak of Thoth's tree ritual, we are not saying that an ancient tablet somewhere necessarily gave a modern instruction in those exact words. We are speaking of a practice that fits the Hermetic spirit, to observe nature as a living text, to use repetition as initiation, to refine perception, to unite body, breath, mind, and symbol, and to discover that wisdom is not only written on pages. Sometimes it is written in bark, in rings, in roots, in the geometry of branches, in the patience of living things. To practice this ritual, begin simply. Choose a tree that is healthy, living, and accessible. Do not choose randomly if you can avoid it. Walk slowly. Notice which tree draws your attention, not in a dramatic way, just gently. A tree you feel comfortable returning to. A tree you can approach respectfully. Stand before it. Before touching it, breathe 3 times. On the first breath, release the noise of the day. On the second breath, become aware of your body. On the third breath, silently state your intention. Not a demand, not a wish, an intention. Something like, I return to living connection, or teach me to listen, or may my energy become grounded, clear, and aligned. Then place your palm on the bark. Do not press aggressively. Do not perform. Let the hand rest. Let the breath slow. Imagine that your body has roots descending from the soles of your feet into the earth. Imagine the excess noise, fear, and scattered energy draining downward, not into the tree as a burden, but into the earth as compost. Then imagine the tree's steadiness rising gently through your body, not as fantasy, as felt symbolism. Let the spine become the trunk. Let the breath become wind. Let the mind become sky. Stay for 3 to 7 minutes in the beginning. That is enough. Longer is not always better. Consistency is better. Sincerity is better. Attention is better. When you finish, remove your hand slowly. Thank the tree, again, not as empty performance, as a way of training humility, because humility is the doorway to perception. A person who approaches nature as a master learns very little. A person who approaches as a student begins to see. Do this every day for 90 days. If you miss one day, do not collapse into guilt. Return the next day, but do not treat the practice casually. The ritual gains power through rhythm. The same place, the same gesture, the same intention, the same return. Over time, keep a journal. Write only a few lines. Date, mood before, mood after, dreams, symbols, repeated thoughts, unusual coincidences, changes in body, sensation. At first, the notes may seem ordinary, but after weeks, patterns may appear. You may notice that certain emotions arise on certain days. You may notice repeated animals, numbers, memories, or dreams. You may notice that the ritual becomes less about receiving something and more about remembering something. This is when the practice becomes real. But there is a warning. Do not turn the tree into an idol. Do not project fantasies onto it. Do not use the ritual to escape your life. Do not mistake every breeze for a prophecy. The purpose is not delusion. The purpose is refinement. The tree is not there to flatter your ego. It is there to teach alignment. And alignment is often uncomfortable, because alignment reveals what is false. It may show you that your life is too loud, that your body is exhausted, that your relationships are draining you, that your dreams have been buried under survival, that your intuition has not disappeared. You simply stopped obeying it. This is the brutal tenderness of living contact. It does not always give you what you want. It returns you to what is true. And perhaps this is why practices like this were forgotten. Not because they do nothing, but because they ask too much from a distracted world. They ask you to slow down. They ask you to repeat. They ask you to feel. They ask you to be humble before something that cannot be bought, controlled, or optimized. They ask you to remember that wisdom was never only human. The modern world cut the forest down and then wondered why the soul felt homeless. It replaced stars with ceilings, soil with pavement, silence with signal, ritual with routine. And still, somewhere beneath all of this, the old connection remains, waiting, not gone, only buried. A tree does not need you to believe in it, does not need your theories. It does not need your approval. It stands in the ancient posture of reality, rooted below, open above, alive between worlds. And maybe that is the real secret of the 90-day tree ritual. You are not trying to become mystical. You are trying to become natural again. You are not trying to escape the body. You are trying to return to it. You are not trying to command the universe. You are trying to remember how to participate in it. For 90 days, one tree becomes a mirror, and what it reflects is not bark, branch, or leaf. It reflects your own disconnection, your own longing, your own scattered energy, your own capacity to return. And if you stay long enough, If you, without forcing, if you touch without taking, if you return without demanding, something in you may begin to soften. The world may become less silent. The body may become less numb. The present moment may become less empty. And the hidden architecture of reality may begin to reveal itself, not as a thunderous vision, but as a quiet certainty. You were never separate from the living world. You were only taught to forget. So if this practice calls to you, do not treat it as entertainment. Test it for 7 days first, then 30, then 90. Choose a tree. Return daily. Place your hand upon it. Breathe. Listen. Record what changes. And if, somewhere along the way, you begin to feel that the world is watching back with a strange and gentle intelligence, do not be afraid. Perhaps it always was. Perhaps the ritual did not create the connection. Perhaps it only removed the noise that kept you from noticing it. If this journey awakened something in you, write in the comments. I will listen to the trees. And tell us what you feel when you stand near them. Because here, inside the Enchanted Archive, we are not only collecting forgotten knowledge, we are remembering the living world that knowledge came from. Until the next doorway opens, stay awake, stay rooted, and keep searching for the light hidden within all things.